Amazing. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend today and the journey that she just went on. But I first want to start by saying that over the past 16 years, I've been studying the human body. That's from a mental and emotional standpoint, that's from a spiritual standpoint, and mostly from a physical standpoint. But I've learned that our amazing body is pretty amazing, right? And you may not see all sides of the story. You may not even see that our body is really amazing because you might be suffering yourself right now. So you're probably looking at a picture of prescription drugs, going from specialist to specialist, maybe having treatment after treatment, and those are all being cared or provided for by caring medical professionals. But here's the thing, we have a huge missing link when it comes to traditional treatment. And no, I'm not against it, so hold on tight. But the problem is that we're not viewing the whole person. And not only is our body physical, but we have to be viewed as a whole because we have these other components that make us a human. And if we're not taking those things into consideration, and if all your doctor or medical professional or your specialist is doing is just treating that one specific thing and has no other communication with other people, then this is going to cause a big problem for you down the road. And then think about our spiritual side or your energetic self. Nobody ever talks about those things. And a lot of times people look at me like I'm an alien when I bring up some of these terms because most of the world today, when they come to me and they start talking about physical health, nobody wants to add in the spiritual or energetic components. But the truth is that they all matter. So I'm almost a little bit angry. I'm kind of sad and I'm a little bit disgusted about my friend's story. And that's why I'm sharing it with you today. So over a month ago, I had a friend. She went in for a simple 1-day procedure. A few days went by and she couldn't even walk. And she was obviously being affected neurologically. And she messaged me. She told me about her brain fog, her constant crying episodes, her inability to perform daily tasks, like literally could not even get up and go to the bathroom by herself, and how humbling it was that she was having to ask someone else to take care of her and her daily needs. Because before surgery, she was a very independent woman. She was running a business. She was a very successful entrepreneur. And this level, or I guess maybe not level, this new level of function, had become, or lack of function, had really become her everyday life. And so she called her doctor. She asked her doctor what to do, and her doctor says, "We'll go to the emergency room. She's likely having a stroke." That's what she was told. Now, my friend had been suffering like this for a few days, so she knew that she wasn't having a stroke. So when we were speaking, I talked to her about toxicity due to over medication during the surgery. And actually, it's very common after anesthesia. Your doctor doesn't talk to you about this simply because they don't know what it is. And that's not to be rude, but they just don't study these things in school. They're not trained in this. The people that are doing your surgery are trained in surgery. They're not trained to follow up on neurological complications, and especially when they're related to toxicity. So if your surgery is done by a gynecologist and they have no idea what to do with your brain, they're going to send you to the hospital. So this is exactly what happened to her. And a few days after working with her, I started to help her, and we worked to help detox some of the things in the body, binding up some of those chemicals, purging things from the body that didn't belong, and the symptoms started to dissipate. Now, this is not an overnight journey, right? There is something to be said about toxicity like this, at levels like this, being like bombarding the organs for days and days at a time. I mean, literally for almost a month, this went on. And she had a full road of recovery to her. I mean, like weeks and weeks went by, and it's been a few months and she's still having complications actually. But the thing about it is that once these poisons are actually purged from the body, which can happen, then she's going to start seeing a lot of these normal daily functions come back. Now, she is functioning better. She just has like a little bit of brain fog and things like that, which, is kind of common. Sometimes even a year after surgery, some of these complications can come about. So, but when she brought me her lab test to look at, it was showing like, a complete overload in her liver, her kidneys, her electrolytes were completely off. Even her blood sugar had bottomed out. And then she looked at the list of medications that they gave her, and this was for a simple 1 day surgery, and they were pumping her so full of medications that her medications alone filled up an entire page. And when she came to me, she was absolutely devastated after reading the medical report that she requested. And she was like, no wonder I feel the way I do. I was poisoned. And the truth is she was. And this happens every single day to so many people. And my point really boils down to this. There are so many medical protocols that are approved, and the problem is that there is no follow-up to do any sort of cleanup in the body. And after surgery or something like this that goes on that's not normal to the body, all these chemicals that we're entering into the body, detoxification is absolutely critical in moments like this. And if you don't get the right detox in your body, then you're not going to be able to function the way you did before surgery. It's just a fact of life. So I'm not against traditional medicine. I don't want you to think that. I'm actually trained as a nurse, but what I will say is that I feel like we need to partner together to help our clients heal their bodies and use functional and conventional approaches together to give people the best chance possible. And as someone working in the functional health space, I do witness miracles every single day, and I watch the health of those that I serve radically change for the better. But unfortunately, a small percentage of people are ever going to even encounter this type of work. And this is why I share so much, because I want to make sure that everybody who needs it or wants it has access to it. And, the problem too is that a lot of people that have it and see it and even hear the testimonials of how great it is, they'll never take it serious. So just a reminder, no, your insurance is not going to cover it. And it is going to require that you commit on your end. And there is an investment, of time, money, energy. But when we omit functional health care, I think it's a really outright shame. And a lot of people say, well, why doesn't my insurance cover it? And I wish I had the answer to that. But your insurance companies, they're not really there for your health. They're there because they're a business. And that issue is probably not going to change anytime soon. I don't typically get into these controversial topics too much. Well, maybe every now and then. But I will tell you that Big Pharma spends billions of dollars every single year on the best advertising companies to influence the general population that drugs are the only option for your health issues. Hear what I'm telling you. They want you to believe that. And it's really great to see a growing population of discerning people who see that there might be just a few smoke and mirrors when it comes to the Big Pharma movement. And this dissatisfied group of people are the ones who are searching the internet, they're reading the books, they're taking authority of their own health by looking for answers outside of traditional medicine and those medical model options like surgery and drugs. And my question to you today is really, are you willing to be that person? I realized about 10 years ago in my own health that I was willing to give up anything just to get well. And I meet people like that every day. And that's really what introduced me to this field. I studied everything that I could get my hands on. I was believing that there was a way out of my suffering. And when I started studying, it was like someone just turned on a light switch for me. Somehow things really started to make sense. And I realized when I started looking at this diagnosis and this treatment, I kind of saw them in a different light, and they were simply a set of symptoms with a title at that point to me. And I realized that. But what I wanted to understand was, why did I have those symptoms? And this is the question that I began to investigate in my own life, and the one that I investigate now in the lives of those that I encounter on a daily basis. I don't really care so much about what your diagnosis is. I want to see, why are you living with autoimmune disease, with obesity, with chronic pain, and so many other conditions, and not getting the help that you are so desperately begging for at times? So my mission is to be a beam of hope, really to dig into the research to find those proven answers for these conditions. And the reason I wrote my book, Healed His Way, is because I felt that it was my duty to let people know the things that I learned, just the basic things that I learned. And I can say that for every minute of time that I spent writing that and that I spent digging into the research, I would spend $5 for every dollar I spent, honestly, because it's really amazing to learn about the human body and truly see how it'll function when we give it what it needs. So I want to ask you today, what are you missing when it comes to your health puzzle? Over the years, I've learned that probably most of my clients, when they come to me, is when they finally have really hit the bottom of their health. And when they come, I learn that they're missing a few components. And I want to show you what those are with you today. And number one is failing to address the underlying root of their condition. Number two is lack of knowledge when it comes to eating the foods that are specific for their body type. Because everybody's food probably is not going to be the same. One man's food is another man's poison, right? And the third thing is they need to investigate hidden stress in the body. And no, it's not always emotional, right? Sometimes it's physiological stress, stress in the body, functional stress, hormones, immune system, your digestion, your detox pathways, all of those things. Those are stressors on the body. And then number four is mental and emotional blocks to healing. So a lot of times we carry autoimmune diseases. What I find is people with autoimmune conditions, a lot of times they have a mental and emotional block. There is a problem from maybe a traumatic event in the past that they just haven't been able to push through. And number five is not having the right mentor or health advocate to help you sift through the loads of misinformation, because we all know that you read about high fat, low fat, high carb, low carb, go vegan, go paleo, go keto. My God, it's so confusing. So, just not having that person to really advocate for you. So if you feel like any of those five really resonate with you and you need help in those areas, hey, I'm here for you guys. I know exactly what you've been through. I know what you're going through because I was once just like you. Remember that. Hey, and go out there and whatever you do today, make it amazing, and we'll talk to you soon.